This is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, launched 7 months ago with one of the best and most reliable camera in the business. But also, this is the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, launched 2 months ago, also with one of the best and most reliable cameras in the business. So these two cameras are the best cameras in the business, the 14 Pro Max as well as S23 Ultra. They both lay claims that these are the best cameras, but we need to test the cameras out from portrait mode to color production, the details and all that, test their video capabilities and all that. I'll show you all in this video. So tell you about their strengths and weaknesses, because trust me, both of them, they are not perfect. So join me in this video. Let the game start. So before we start with the samples, here are the specifications on both phones. And remember, the iPhone saves the pictures, the videos with IMG, while the Galaxy S23 Ultra, they just save the format with data and time. So to kick things off, let's start with daytime portrait shot. So for daytime portrait shot, the iPhone 14 Pro Max tend to add too much contrast to most of the scene, while the S23 Ultra is sometimes too bright. This is what you're going to see, like you're going to see this like most of the time on both of them. Although sometimes it flips, like the flower shot, you see the 14 Pro Max is brighter, while the S23 Ultra has more contrast. In terms of details are very similar on both, and the edge detection are like mostly similar on both. Then in terms of colors, you see that because of the contrast of the iPhone, it always affects the color, make the color a little bit too mute, and the S23 Ultra is a little bit more accurate to what I was seeing. And the contrast of the iPhone, it affects dark skinned people as well, makes them darker. But then you see that the contrast is helping the iPhone to retain a little bit more details on my white shirt compared to that was blown out on the S23 Ultra. So guys, this is testing the cinematic mode of the 14 Pro Max as well as the portrait video on the Galaxy S23 Ultra. They both do the same thing but just different names. So they blur me from the background just like DSLR cameras. So and this both can shoot in 4K. So tell me how the quality is right now. And by the way, the entire video, the entire comparison that you're gonna watch will be shot from the Galaxy S23 Ultra and the 14 Pro Max. I'm not going to use any other camera, so I'll be using maybe the cinematic mode or the main mode to shoot the entire video. So you see the difference like between the video, like day-to-day shots and all that. I'll be turning around now to see how they are going about with the tracking and movement of me as a whole in the picture. So for the portrait video, like you saw, the iPhone was able to, retain a little bit more detail than the S23 Ultra. But then the S23 Ultra, was a little bit more accurate to the color of the scene and everything. It's very good. And dynamic range was better on the S23 Ultra because the iPhone was, blowing out my white shirt a little bit more. So for daytime regular shot, it's kind of a similar story to the portrait shot. So the iPhone 14 Pro Max tends to add too much contrast to its pictures, which makes them a little dark and a little off color, while the S23 Ultra is more accurate to the scene but a little too bright and a little bit more pop to its color. So that is the difference between both of them, you see. While details are mostly better on the S23 Ultra, but the iPhone 14 Pro Max sometimes details can be better as well, but most of the time the S23 Ultra has better details. While dynamic range, obviously it goes back and forth, but mostly better on the S23 Ultra. And this is because the iPhone, Apple has been having these dynamic range issues that it blows out some of the place that has harsh light. So I hope they fix this. It's been a problem for a couple of years now, so they have dynamic range issues. It's not all the time, but sometimes it happens like that. And all these things I'm pointing out are just like nitpicking. Like we have these phones and you're shooting pictures and videos, you won't notice that much, except you put them side by side, then you can notice some differences. So now let's talk about zoom. Well, for the zoom, it's a no-brainer. The S23 Ultra is the better zoom camera, and that's because the iPhone 14 Pro Max only have one telephoto camera, and that's at 3x optical zoom, while the S23 Ultra come with a 3x telephoto camera as well as a 10x periscope telephoto camera. So you can go 10x optical, and so that's why I see when you make any shots with zoom, the S23 Ultra will definitely come out better. Hopefully Apple add some periscope capabilities to the iPhone 15 Pro series, which we are waiting for to come sometime in September, because it's been long overdue and Apple is lacking very much on that front. And this is both for photos but for videos. So both of these phones can shoot up to 4K 60 for videos, but then the S23 Ultra can shoot up to 8K. And I compare the 8K quality versus the iPhone 14 Pro Max 4K 60, and you see that the 8K 30 on the S23 Ultra has more detail than the 4K 60 on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But both of them have good dynamic range, and details in general are okay, except you start zooming in and all that. So guys, the S23 Ultra can shoot in 8K, but the iPhone 14 Pro Max cannot shoot in 8K. It can go maximum of 4K 60. So this is the 8K footage of the S23 Ultra versus the 4K 60 of the 14 Pro Max. So just to see if there's any detail, we're gonna zoom in. Panning around. So guys, this is testing the 4K 30 FPS 14 Pro Max S23 Ultra. I'm at the harbor. So but also I want to check their zoom quality to see how they fare with details. So this is 3x on both of them. Check for the stabilization at 3x. For the S23 Ultra can go up to 10x optical, or you can go 10x digital on the 14 Pro Max. So check for the details and tell me which one. So guys, this is testing the 4K 60 FPS video on the Galaxy S23 Ultra as well as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So I'm going to pan towards the sun just to check for dynamic range. See how they handle the sky. Take a walk, check for stabilization. For macro shot, both of them can shoot excellent macro shots. It goes back and forth. Sometimes the iPhone is better, sometimes the S23 is better with details. So for selfie, both of them have 12 megapixel camera and they shoot excellent selfies for videos and pictures. But the S23 Ultra has better dynamic range and better details compared to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. iPhone 14 Pro Max is suffering from dynamic range issues and too much contrast. So how about indoor shot? Indoor shots, both of them, they are very similar, and similar colors and similar details and all that. So for nighttime shots, nighttime shots are great on both of them. Both of them, they are not perfect. Sometimes the 14 Pro Max renders the scene and the sky better. The other times the S23 Ultra renders the scene better. So sometimes the details are better on the 14 Pro Max, or other times these are better on the S23 Ultra. So I don't know, the nighttime shots, it's kind of like a tie, but the nighttime video, I'll allow you guys to be the judge of the nighttime video. So check it out, 4K 30 and 4K 60. So guys, this is testing the 4K 30 FPS S23 Ultra, iPhone 14 Pro Max. Watch for stabilization, microphones, and clarity. I'll pan around. So that's it, guys, for my comparison of the iPhone 14 Pro Max versus the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. So what have we learned from the camera comparison of the S23 Ultra and the 14 Pro Max? Well, both of them, they are very good cameras and very, very reliable cameras. Most reliable cameras you get on the market, but they have their strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully they improve on all this. And you can see how the portrait video, that I'm using right now on the 14 Pro Max, and also I will switch right now to the one of the S23 Ultra, and now the Galaxy S23 Ultra. So you see both of them, you can see differences on both of them. So both of them, they are very great and reliable cameras, but a few things to point out. The front-facing camera is more reliable on the S23 Ultra, and that's because of the better dynamic range control and better details. For videos of the front-facing camera, the S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14 Pro Max are similar. There's no much to complain about. The rear camera, the ultra wide angle, the main camera, they are all very similar in terms of how they bring out details, although color might be different. You prefer whether you like too much contrast or a little bit too much color. Both of them have nice dynamic range, although the S23 Ultra is a little bit better when it comes to dynamic range. So why for the telephoto camera, it's a no-brainer. The S23 Ultra is better. So that is it for this long camera comparison between the 14 Pro Max and the S23 Ultra. Hopefully we'll get some updates with the iPhone 15 Pro series, which is dropping September of this year. So until next time, be sure to subscribe to the channel. More videos are coming your ways, more battery test comparisons, and I have the Xiaomi 13 Pro series that I will do comparison with and all that. So until next time, I'm out here.